What's going on? This is your man Jose, aka the Dominican Dream, alongside,
The Maniac.
and this is the return of the boxing roundtable. As always, we are ready to talk boxing.
Boxing.
Big card coming up, Sean. Needs not much of an introduction. Ryan Garcia steps back in the ring after his 1 year layoff and suspension against Rolly Ramirez in the main event. We also have on that card the return of Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza Jr. And last but not least, a villain of sorts in boxing right now, and that is Devin, the Dream Haney, fighting once upon a time champion, Jose Ramirez. Also, Saturday night or Saturday early evening, afternoon, since the fight will take place in Saudi Arabia, the return of Canelo Alvarez versus William Skull out of Cuba. And on that undercard, Jaime Munguia versus Sriracha. The
Bruno
rematch.
Sriracha.
Bruno Sriracha or Suras. The rematch of that vicious one-punch knockout of Jaime Munguia in Tijuana. Now looking to avenge the loss. And last but not least, the monster back in action on U.S. soil. Naoya Inoue versus Ramon Cardenas. So a weekend of fights, a weekend of big names, but not necessarily big fights, right? Big names, but what we're seeing is more A side versus opponents rather than even we don't know who's gonna win type of matchups, right? Like we've been having. This is not like, for example, the upcoming rematch between Usyk and Dubois. You could get. I understand Usyk will be the favorite, but is he really? Is it a guarantee that he's gonna win? We don't know. That's a dangerous fight. That's a dangerous fight. As to where fights in a way, no. The fight with Ryan Garcia, probably not. The fight with Tio Barboza on paper, he's supposed to tear him up. And Haney Ramirez would have been good a few years ago, but we've seen the decline of Ramirez. So still, it's exciting to see all these guys back in the ring, and what happens and what they do in these fights is going to determine what happens next. And we may see some of these guys fare off against each other, which is the plan. Talk to us, man. Break these fights down. Let's begin with that. Let's begin with the Devin Haney Jose Ramirez fight. Everyone knows Devin Haney officially. He likes to say that. He's been saying that on this press conference, on this press tour. He still has it though. He's still undefeated. But we all seen him get his ass whooped thoroughly by Ryan Garcia. What do you think of this matchup next? What do you think of the choice of opponent? Do you think it's fair given that he got his ass whooped? But is it really fair? Because yes, he did get his ass whooped. His team is looking for him to gain their confidence back. But then again, he's also boasting about how he's still undefeated. So maybe they should have fought somebody who has a little more in the tank.
Yeah, a more dangerous fighter. I mean, this fight, it's interesting, right? Because these two fighters have stories, right? You have one fighter in Jose Ramirez who was a unified champion at junior welterweight. He lost them to Josh Taylor. Devin Haney was an undisputed champion at 135. Now we know Haney hasn't fought in over a year, and this is his first fight back. Where is he mentally, right? He could talk about he still got his old, but at the end of the day, you can't erase what happened last April, because we all know what happened. and he knows what's happened, and his father knows what happens. So what's going to be his approach in this fight is what I'm really eager to see. Is it going to be an aggressive approach? Is it going to be the regular Haney approach where, he shoots the jab, he counters, and he moves around and kind of just, box his way to a decision? That's how normally Haney is. Once in the blue, you might see him be a little aggressive and kind of put his foot on the gas, but that's very rare. He did against Regis Prograis. He tried to do it with Ryan, and we saw what happened. Ramirez, on the other hand, his last fight with Barbosa, he definitely looked like a shot fighter, just couldn't pull the trigger. He looked very limited. A fighter who had skills, who was good, once upon a time. Now, Robert Garcia is talking about they did have a good camp with him. He spent more time with him. So do we see a different Ramirez in this fight now, right? Because you do have.
I heard you mention the other day somewhere that what training camp going into a fight is gonna say that they had a bad training camp.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
What you saying that Garcia said that they had a good training camp, but what training camp goes into a fight saying that they had a bad training camp?
Correct. You're right. I mean, that's 100% correct. No one never says that, right? And it's just talk. So we don't know. But as far as the fight goes stylistically, I think it's gonna be a fight where I'm gonna expect Ramirez to be the aggressor here. I think they're gonna try to jump on Haney early, right? Because if there's any confidence that Haney has, you want to take it from him early in the fight. And how you do that, you be aggressive and you want to test that chin. Let me see if that chin is still the same from last April. Because if it is, and I land, there's going to be trouble there. But again, how much does Ramirez have in his tank? We don't know. I'm still expecting Devin Haney to control the fight for the most part. I think he'll be in trouble. He might be in trouble once or twice in this fight, but when I say trouble, not where he's hurt and he got the Bambi legs, just where he might be on the ropes and Ramirez might land 3 or 4 shots and then he'll get up out of there. And Haney's the more skilled fighter. He's the younger fighter. He's the fresher fighter. So I expect him to just cruise to a unanimous decision. I don't think this fight is gonna have a lot of excitement in it. It might have moments here and there, but a fight that might be, the least entertaining of the 3 major ones of that card. So, again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm more eager to see the mental state of these fighters going into this fight. But if they both are what I think they are, then I'm expecting Haney to win decision. Just, like I said, jab and movement, and countering, perhaps pot shotting Ramirez here and there. But that's it, man. I expect Haney to win this fight decision. And believe it or not, whether people like Haney or not, it'll be good for him to win this fight because of what's waiting for him in the next fight. And that's a rematch with Ryan Garcia. And we want to put that to a rest, right? He cheated. That's why he lost. We want Ryan to go in there and fuck his ass up in the rematch.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a group of people that, when you mean us, you and I, and a group of large group of people that do want to see Ryan do that again. But of course, is a group of people that are still screaming PD, Osterine, etc., and they want to see a rematch, and they think they maybe think, or they may be trying to convince themselves that Haney will cook Ryan Garcia. Look, as far as that fight goes, it's a fight I'm not really interested in, a fight I don't want to see. And again, the Haneys are doing what they do. Matchmaking. Bill Haney's a great matchmaker. I think he created an illusion going into the Ryan Garcia fight, and he thought he was cherry picking going into the Ryan Garcia fight as well, being the way Garcia was behaving right outside of the ring and his antics, and he just looked, he didn't look good. We didn't expect him to win, and especially in that fashion. So they're just looking for someone to make Devin look good. I do understand he's coming off an ass whooping. You want him to be psychologically, you want him to gain confidence again, by beating a guy that's, was a good fighter. I like Jose Ramirez very much as a person, as a fighter. I don't think he's physically tremendously talented, but he definitely had the skills and the grit to get, more than get the job done when he was at his best, especially with Robert Garcia. But he's a fighter that he's not physically talented. He's a fighter that he was relying more off of technique and, coming in good shape and working out, but he's really deteriorated. He's not a very strong guy. He's a small 140 as well. We know Devin Haney's a larger guy. So it's a little bit, I understand, yes, get his confidence back, but at the same time, y'all talking like you don't need to get his confidence back because he never lost. So, make up your mind. Anyway, I think that Devin Haney should win that fight. If not by dominant decision, believe it or not, maybe even a stoppage, man. Because I think that Ramirez is that shot. And bro, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that he has a lot more in the tank than we think he does. Because if he does, then we know Haney might be in for a little bit of trouble. But I think there's the height difference, the reach difference, and the size difference, plus where they're at in their career. I think Haney should win the fight. No problem. Tio, the Enigma, Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza Jr., a fighter that we know on paper, eye test, anybody. You don't even have to be a big boxing fan. If you put on a fight for a casual or whatever, you say, yo, look at these fights, look at these two fighters. Let me show you 5 minutes of these guys fighting. Everyone's gonna say, all right, that guy's gonna whoop his ass. Teofimo's gonna whoop because he's just a much more talented fighter, and it's evident. But again, he is an enigma. And again, we've seen him go into fights where on paper he should blast the guy out and he lays an egg. So this might be another one of those. I don't know what to expect. I know what should happen, right? Because then when we see him go against the Lomachenkos, against the Josh Taylors, the most decorated, most dangerous fighters he ever fought, he wins and he performs at his best, right? Then we see him fight against the Jermaine Ortiz. We see him fight against the Cambosos. We see him fight against uh, the dude from Canada. Even though I thought he did pretty good there, but maybe you know I forgot his name. The
Yeah,
Canadian
yeah, so did
brawler.
I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thing is, the guy's a roller coaster. That being said, break that one down. I'm gonna go ahead and break it down right after you.
I just want to see what was the dude's name. Before we get into that, that was Claggett.
Yeah, Claggett.
Steve Claggett was his name. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I don't think necessarily it was a bad performance. He got criticized a lot for it, but there's
it
other.
wasn't a bad, it wasn't an elite performance. We see him, you see him at a certain level of
There
fighters,
you
right?
go. It
And
wasn't
we
it wasn't
and
an elite, but it wasn't an elite performance. And we
yeah,
forgot I forgot to mention Sandor Martin. But then in hindsight, Sandor is a guy that could complicate anybody's night. And Sandor's not there to win. That's why I'm not a fan of fighters. He's not there to win. He's there to complicate your night. That's
yeah.
how I feel. He
Even
doesn't do enough to win. Only does enough to make it controversial or to make the other guy look bad, but it's not like he inflicts damage on his opponent or outlances it. He just makes it difficult for you.
yeah.
So that's another fight where he was supposed to blow Sandor out, and he didn't.
He didn't. No. Teofimo Lopez, man. You're talking about on his best night, he could go skill for skill with anybody in boxing. Pound for pound talent, hands down, right? Or even generational talent, as many people say. but the inconsistency. That's what's kind of been haunting Teofimo Lopez. And just like you mentioned, the Steve Claggett fight, it wasn't a horrible performance, just wasn't an elite. We're hunger for more, right? We're looking for that Teo Josh Taylor, because we know that's who he is, right? When we don't get those performances, we start to question. There's already been about 2, 3 fights since that fight where it's just like, yeah, right, Tio, he's looking like a good fighter. Not a great fighter, not an elite fighter. He's looking like a good fighter. And we know he's better than that. Now, he's going up against a fighter dream that, yes, Arnold Barbosa, who's limited, right? He's a limited fighter, but he's coming in with confidence, bro. And we could say what we want, man, but that means a lot going into fights. He just beat Jose Ramirez. Not that it says a lot, but, and then he went across the pond and beat a tough Jack Catterall. Now, of course, Jack Catterall is nothing special by any means, but to go into someone's house like that, and he's an awkward fighter, to beat him and come out with a decision, that says a lot. But when we look at both fighters, man, this should be a fight where Tio should be able to do whatever he wants with Barbosa. He outchecks him in every category. Speed, Tio. Power, Tio. Skill, Tio. Footwork, Tio. Bro, combination punching, Tio. Everything
There's
is
only
Tio.
there's only one, because I thought about this. I thought about this scenario and breaking it down like this. You're correct, except one. There's only one, and we know that the only flaw that Tio has, and where is that?
Mental. Yeah.
That's the only check that you could give anybody that fights Tio before Tio, because Tio is he got that Zab Judah type laps,
Yeah.
that Mike Tyson laps. That like, bro, like where are you? He's you don't know what you're gonna get with him, but
Yeah.
everything else, absolutely.
Yeah, and when you look at Barbosa, he's not an active, he doesn't throw a lot of punches. He relies a lot on his jab and his toughness. And he's not a big puncher. Of his 32 wins, he only has 11 night quills. So he's not a fighter where you're gonna go into a fight worry about his power. So Tio doesn't really have to worry about that. Tio just has to outwork him, Dream. Use the jab, go in there and go for the kill. I think he should be in and out, but at time put his foot on the gas, right? Let Barbosa, you don't belong in the ring with me. Look, oh, he's undefeated. He's this. Listen, Top Rank let Barbosa go for a reason as an undefeated fighter. They know why he
Hmm.
is. You understand? They know why he is. So Tio is
So
Tio's job
or
as an elite fighter
or they
to
know what he's
remind
not.
people. Yeah. So exactly what he's not. So if Tio could go in there and beat Tio, then it puts him back in the forefront. Now, mind you, also take into account Tio's the WBO champion at 140, and he's also the ring champion, the lineal. So there is stuff at stake here. Barbosa, this is his dream shot. He's going in there thinking, I'm going to Camboso Tio. You know what? I hope you try that, because if you do, I know Tio this time around is going to be prepared. And if Tio is not, and he goes into this fight where we like, yo, what's going on? Then I don't care what anybody tell me. He might want to contemplate retiring. And people are like, what do you mean retiring? He's going to get knocked the fuck out playing like that, because he's going
I
to fight
agree.
somebody and it's going to
I
get
agree.
ugly.
I agree.
But
So who?
nonetheless, I'm
yeah,
going
exactly.
Tio by decision. I'm going Tio by decision.
Okay. That's very fair. I think that's a calculated prediction given all the inconsistencies of Teofimo Lopez. It's a very calculated prediction that you're giving, and it's one that you're using common sense. You're analyzing everything. You're not going off of talent alone, because talent alone, we know there's a large disparity. Now, Teofimo Lopez, I've been a fan of Teofimo Lopez, especially more at least 2 years ago, because I like the fact that he was young, and not only was he willing to fight the best, he showed that yes, he wasn't only willing, he wasn't only talk, he was serious about it. About going to 140 and fighting Taylor, about fighting Lomachenko when he only had 14, 15 fights. So he dared to be great at a young age, and he accomplished both those things. He beat both those guys. Now, he's a strange dude. I like his skill, I like his talent. I don't like his trainer. I know they have been practicing and going to different trainers. I sent you a video of him training with Freddie Roach or hitting the mitts with Freddie. We know he spent some time down in Mexico with Reynoso, which I don't think Reynoso was gonna do anything for him. Maybe help his psyche a little bit, helping me be more disciplined, which is a good thing. But as far as skill, I don't think there was much he could show him. And now they're down there training with another guy who I don't know his name. I think he's some Spanish dude, um, and aside from his father. So, what has he really changed? Um, what has really changed with Tio? We don't know. That's something that we'll see Friday night. And to me, I'm gonna tell you this like that. Given everything I just said about Tio and the positive things that I said about him and how I've liked him as a fighter, uh, I'm gonna say this right now. Arnold Barboza is not a good fighter. If he doesn't demolish or destroy Arnold Barboza, I'm talking about if I let him slide with getting a decision, he got to get a decision with it's a decision like I'll tell you, I'm texting you like Sean, yo, they should have stopped that shit, bro. Yo, he beating the shit out of Barboza. Yo, like, why the corner don't stop it? I know he ain't nothing. He got to win a decisive decision where he obliterates him and makes him look silly, or he got to go in there and demolish him 6, 7 rounds tops. If he doesn't do that, to me, that's a L. That's a L because I don't care what you say about Barboza. I don't care if you respect him because he's focused, because he's hungry. He doesn't have anything. Name one thing that he does special. You can't. Even his so quote unquote toughness or confidence, that's not special either. He's just a run of the mill fighter. Nothing special. Nothing special. He's a guy that should be on Pro Box as the main event. Tops. So if Tio don't cook his ass, that's a L. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and say that Tio, if he comes in as who he should come in as, I say 6 to 8 round stoppage. If Tio's in there and has those mental lapses, I still think he wins, but I think he wins the decision and perhaps maybe even a boring one where there's some rounds that he gets booed in because the round before or the round before that, he almost stopped Barboza, and everybody's like, yeah, yeah, and then he starts playing with him, like, what the fuck are you doing? And he shows those mental lapses again. So this fight is up to Teofimo Lopez. What does he want to do, and how does he come on that night? If he loses, I 100% agree with you, and I reiterate what you said as far as he's a contemplate retirement. Because if you losing against this caliber of fighter, then bro, your talent, you're showing us that your mental lapses are much more of an of a factor in your life than your actual boxing talent, than your actual athletic skill. And that's not a good thing. Moving on, the main event, the return of one of your favorite fighters, generational talent, pound for pound, one of the best, Rolly Ramirez. Um, yeah, he's a guy that Sean he don't like to call fighters bums. I don't mind calling anyone that merits that term a bum if you it's also street talk or colloquial how we speak colloquially where you talking to somebody about an NBA team like them niggas is trash. Of course they elite athletes but compared to be at the top level, he shouldn't be competing at the top level, right? And Rolly's one of those guys, but he's a character and he has been exciting in certain fights and he's just listen, he's here again, and he's making the best out of his 15 minutes of fame, and it's more than 15 minutes, man. He's going on an hour and 45 Fort Javante Davis had another big fight against Pitbull. And now here he is again in Times Square against his friend Ryan Garcia, because those guys are friendly, even though they've been trying to face him off on the thing and having them talk. But it's really you can tell that there's love between both there, nothing, no malice. And but they're gonna come to bang, man. These two men, they're young, they're competitive, and I think Broly is past his best. Um, and yo, Ryan, man, Ryan looks good, man. He looks good mentally, and he looks good physically. I saw him training. I saw his and bro, that's the sharpest, the most focused, the most disciplined I've ever seen Ryan Garcia. And I've seen Rolly shadow box as well. But Rolly, he's always in, he's a physical specimen. He looks, guys, he's shredded, bro. But he was shadow boxing, doing. And we know he's not a boxer, really. He's just a strong kid who can punch. He has a background in judo. He was probably better at that than in boxing. That being said, Ryan Garcia, Ryan Garcia's length, quickness, and that left hook should carry him through. He should get a stoppage against Rolly, he's a very unorganized or disorganized. He's not an organized fighter. Ryan Garcia is not an organized fighter either. He might be coming a bit more, might be becoming a bit more organized with Derek James. But I still think that if Rolly has a throwback performance, he can complicate things for Ryan, as far as hit him with some punches. They were like, "Yo, oh shit, bro, what was that?" Because again, Garcia is not an orthodox fighter. Traditionally, he hasn't been an orthodox fighter, and Rolly is far from orthodox. So it's a fun fight. It's a fun fight. It could make for fireworks. Maybe both being having that relationship for years that they've had. Maybe, like De La Hoya Mosley, they known each other since they was kids, and when they fought, it was tremendously competitive. So, maybe we'll have some of that in this fight. But I think we all, you got to go with Ryan Garcia. You got to favor him to win, and I don't think by decision. I think he should be able to stop Rolly, with some dangerous moments in there for Ryan if Rolly comes in tip top shape and he is serious about this fight. Or maybe he's just here. He was sitting on his couch playing video games, which he's been doing a lot of lately, and they hit him up with this opportunity, and why not get that bag again? So I don't know if he's really here to fight or just to get that bag as his last his last hurrah in boxing. But I'm going with Ryan Garcia in that fight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You hit it on the head with that one. It's just, you know, Rolly's a fighter who's just he's not skilled at all. He's fundamentally flawed. He has bad footwork. He has they say an educated jab. His is probably uneducated, right? It's just bad. Like you say, he's just a tough kid. He's just the guy you don't want to fight at the club, the guy in a pickup basketball game
Yeah, yeah,
or
he
in the
go he yeah, yeah,
bakery.
he gonna
Yeah,
fold you like one of them summer chairs if you do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But in
yeah.
the ring, it's different.
You don't. Nah, yeah. When it's in the organized, the Queensberry rules,
Yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah,
not. And, and
yeah.
and Ryan, like you mentioned, right? If Ryan is mentally healthy, physically healthy. And this fight is at 147, by the way. This is a full-fledged welterweight fight. So I'm expecting Ryan to be even stronger because it's at a weight where he's going to be comfortable. I'm expecting him to stop Rolly. He should stop Rolly. And if he doesn't stop him, he's going to win, to me, a wide decision and at least drop Rolly once or twice in this fight. Because I could see early on he's going to, that left hand, and he might be able to evade it for a round or two. But by the third round, if Ryan hasn't landed, he'll land it. And then it's all she wrote, man.
Yeah, I'm laughing because that's gonna be a fun fight, man. I can see it. It's gonna be a fun fight, man. It's just Oh man.
And you're right though, but it could be moments where because let's be honest too, Ryan is a fighter who's not hard to find neither. So Rolly might land some shit, and if he does, it's gonna we all gonna see. Okay, let me see how he take that because say we could I say what I want about Rolly, but if he hits you flush, you might not get up. You might
Yeah,
fall
I
or
mean,
not get up.
shit. Javante
So,
said it. They said, "Yo, what's up with Rolly hit hard?" He said, "Yeah, he had him up. He hit hard."
yeah, so
So,
but I'm going just like you. I'm going Ryan Garcia via stoppage, maybe sixth, seventh round.
and let me ask you something, man. Now that you gave that prediction, before we get into breaking down the other fights, the other cards, what do you make? What will you make of these performances? Remember, this is at 147. So we know if when the rematch happens between Ryan and Devin, it's going to be at 147 as well. If Devin looks good or struggles, and Ryan looks great against Rolly, and he comes into the next fight clear headed like we're seeing him now, how do you see that fight playing out with a healthy Ryan off the drugs, off the liquor, and a Devin Haney who's now going to move up to fight the same Ryan Garcia, a better Ryan, let's say, at now at a higher weight? How do you see that fight?
I think regardless, man, I was always going Ryan in the rematch. Now people they say, oh, if you take away the knockdowns in this fight, Haney wins a clear decision. I'm not gonna argue that. Yes. But again, the key word you mentioned, Dream, a focus Ryan, a focus Ryan, a healthy Ryan, right? I'm yeah, it's Ryan easily. He might stop Haney in the rematch at 147 because I don't think Haney could hurt Ryan. That's one, right? And two, I think that stylistically, I just think Haney is a bad match. I mean, Ryan's a bad match for Haney stylistically. And you could train for something, right? All you want. But once you end it, it's just different, man. And there's no one he can spar that can mimic that kind of speed with that left hand. So I'm going Ryan in the rematch. Even if Ryan struggles against Rolly and Haney looks good against Ramirez, I'm still going Ryan in the rematch,
Yeah,
regardless.
yeah, I agree. I think Ryan, especially this kind of Ryan, definitely stops Devin Haney in a rematch, especially at a higher weight. Um, yeah, like you said, man, I think again, like even Ryan said it in the first 30 seconds of the fight. I mean, he almost dropped him with the left. That left hook was instant like that. As soon as he touched his jaw, you saw him dance, and we seen him dance plenty of times before at lower weight classes against lighter guys. Shit, Lomachenko had him dancing. Lenore's had him dancing. Bro, say what you want. Ryan hits twice as hard as all those guys, right? So, and that's not gonna change. That's not gonna change. Speed ain't gonna change. His power ain't gonna change. He's a young kid who's just probably now getting into his prime, and with a tremendous trainer in Derek James, he should be able to cook and stop his ass. The worst Ryan Garcia beat his ass. So I think a good Ryan Garcia should stop him.